Naoto was a pathetic loser who couldn't stand being around hot chicks without wetting himself, just like you. However, his life changes when the baddest girl in school starts bullying him, but he slowly starts falling in love with her instead. The story begins when Naoto heads to the library to have some time to himself, only to find a bunch of hot chicks gossiping about 7-inch step bros. Naoto wishes the anime gods would send him to an isekai because he can't stand being around girls, but he summons the courage to enter and have a seat. As he starts working on his new manga series, the girls casually roast him for losing a fight against maturity. So he gets flustered and accidentally spills his manga pages on the floor. The girls read through it and cook his drawings before leaving the library, except for Nagatoro, who stays back because she finds the manga interesting. She flips through some pages and realizes the protagonist is Giga Chad modeled after Naoto, but starts giggling because Naoto looks like an idiot that can't get girls. To prove this to him, she makes him act out a scene from the manga where he'll have to tease her and go for a kiss. And the dude fumbles harder than your daddy's pull-out game.
What do you mean by that?
As Nagatoro roasts Naoto until he starts to cry, she gives him her handkerchief to clean his tears before apologizing and leaving the room. At night, Naoto struggles to sleep because his pea-sized brain keeps replaying his humiliating moments with Nagatoro, and he hates that a first-year girl made him cry. At school the following day, Nagatoro shows up to play with Naoto, but he ignores her and returns the handkerchief from yesterday. After that, Naoto enters the art studio to draw a piece, but Nagatoro follows behind him and points out that they are now alone, which means they might smash. Although Naoto is barely holding it together, he focuses on his drawing so someone wouldn't end up hospitalized for 9 months. Seeing that he isn't paying her any attention, Nagatoro decides to show some skin to model for him.
Yeah, boy.
As Naoto's brain overheats, he realizes she won't stop until he gives her attention, so he promises to draw her. This makes Nagatoro laugh because she hasn't shown him the main thing yet, but she agrees to his terms. When Naoto starts drawing her, his cheeks turn red because he has never held eye contact with a girl before. However, Nagatoro promises a reward if he draws her well, so Naoto wakes up the artist in him and completes her drawing. When he is done, Nagatoro smiles and tells him to close his eyes so he can get his reward. With his eyes closed, he extends his lips, hoping for a kiss, but Nagatoro flicks his nose at the last second and starts mocking him. Realizing that he has lost all his steez, Naoto covers his face and begs Nagatoro to leave him alone, but the girl refuses. She then tries to make him stop covering his face, but as she easily overpowers him, she calls him a weak bum. The comment makes Naoto cry, so she wipes his tears and apologizes for messing with him. After school, Naoto cusses the universe for making him walk home with Nagatoro because they live on the same street. All of a sudden, Nagatoro acts cute to Naoto and starts begging him to go out with her. Naoto's brain times out after hearing this, but his reaction amuses Nagatoro because her confession was a joke. She begins smacking him, saying that no girl in her right senses will ask a guy like him out, so Naoto says he was shocked because he wasn't expecting any confession. He then tells her to stop messing with him, but she doesn't listen and accidentally pushes him into the gutter. Despite getting drenched in sewage, Naoto comes out and acts like everything is fine, but it makes Nagatoro wonder if he never gets angry at all. Naoto explains that he's been getting bullied ever since he was a youngling, and he developed a certain type of nonchalance as a coping mechanism. After that, Nagatoro starts hinting that he has a crush on her, but it makes him flustered, so he says he doesn't. He admits that although she is the goat of rage baiting, he doesn't hate her because he likes talking to her and spending time with her. Nagatoro smiles and tells him to call her by her first name, and it takes all the courage from his ancestors for him to do this. With that, they officially become friends, and Nagatoro promises him a semester of chaos. The following morning, Naoto is drawing in the art room when Nagatoro barges in and starts hoop dancing around him like she's lost it. While Naoto wonders what's up with her, she tells him to join her and dance. As Naoto is about to join Nagatoro, he sees her silky garment and becomes stunned.
Yeah, boy.
So Nagatoro notices and calls him a cultured freak. During break time, Naoto sits by himself and enjoys his ramen lunch, then proceeds to read a manga about hot vampires with god-tier milkers. He's always looked forward to this manga because there are more interesting scenes.
What do you mean by that?
But before he can rub a quick one with it, Nagatoro barges in. Immediately, he hides the book to avoid getting caught, but Nagatoro sees through him and discovers the book. As she tries to check it out, Naoto struggles with her, and this gives her the impression that the manga is heavily cultured. She then promises him a private massage, so Naoto lets his guard down, and she yanks the manga from him.
Stupid!
As she reads the manga, she realizes she was right about it being saucy, but Naoto starts yelling that he only got the book because of the main plot. Nagatoro doesn't believe him and decides to show him an interesting page from the book to see his reaction. She quickly realizes he's into hot girls who jiggle and starts massaging her assets to get him thirsty. When he can't take it anymore, Naoto begs her to stop, insisting that he is only into vampire manga stories. Nagatoro decides to take him seriously and read the manga to see what it's about. But when she's done, she starts roasting him, saying that he resembles one of the characters who got hunted and drained of his life force. Naoto says he is nothing like that character, but Nagatoro laughs and says that he'll be fine even if he gets attacked by a vampire, because he is a virgin. She claims that if he isn't a virgin and a vampire feeds on him, he'll turn into an ugly goblin. Naoto tells her to shut up because the only way for her to tell if he still has his V-card is if she's a vampire. All of a sudden, the lights go out, and Nagatoro starts smiling like a psychopath and shows her fangs to fake being a vampire. This startles Naoto because he thinks he is one bite mark away from her finding out that he's a virgin, so he starts begging her to spare him. Nagatoro refuses and jumps on him to have a bite, so Naoto tells her to get off because people might get the wrong impression if they're caught. Despite that, Nagatoro insists and starts teasing his neck to get the blood pumping. As she's about to dig in, Naoto's bad breath scares her off, so she starts roasting him for not brushing his teeth since birth. Naoto tries to run away from the embarrassment, but Nagatoro grabs him and ends up falling on his sausage. Later that day, on the way home, Nagatoro starts roasting Naoto for what happened earlier, claiming it's the first time a lady has touched him. Naoto gets uncomfortable and tries to dodge the conversation, so Nagatoro decides to get handsy with his cursed cannon.
It should have been me, not him!
As she reaches for it, she flips at the last second and runs off giggling, telling him goodbye. At night, Naoto lies in bed, reading the manga from earlier, and starts fantasizing about getting cultured with Nagatoro. After losing gallons the whole night, he heads to the art studio the next morning to draw a piece. A bit later, Nagatoro barges in and forces him to play a bean-poking game where they'll have to guess where their beans are located.
What?
All the blood leaves Naoto's brain as he begins thinking about it, but says there's no point in playing since he won't gain anything if he wins. Nagatoro speaks of a grand prize, and it's a ticket that will allow him to make her do anything he wants. Deep down, Naoto doesn't intend to do anything sus, but he agrees to play the game so he can get her to stop teasing him. Nagatoro starts first and almost guesses where his beans are hanging, but as Naoto is about to tell her she's failed, she smiles and starts twisting his beans, which makes all the culture within him go wild. After that, Nagatoro throws shade at him, saying he doesn't have the guts to check her out, and she'll be the one winning the do whatever you say ticket. Fearing what she might do with that ticket, Naoto agrees to play the game, and her cheeks turn red. As Naoto draws closer to the jackpot, Nagatoro's heart is beating fast because she's a sucker for melon grabbing, so she pushes him away at the last second. Later that day, Naoto stops by his favorite restaurant to unwind, thinking he'll finally get a chance to work on his manga. Unfortunately, Nagatoro walks in with her friend, Sakura, and 2 other dudes for a date, so Naoto hides to avoid getting spotted. He eavesdrops as one of the guys runs his mouth to impress Nagatoro, but starts smiling because he knows Nagatoro is about to roast the dude's generation. Since the guy is a wannabe music artist, Nagatoro tells him that the Grammy Awards will file for defamation if they hear his songs. Bro is cooked at this point, so he walks off in shame to cry in the bathroom. The other dude subs with him to try and riz Nagatoro into following him home, but as the dude leaves to cry in the bathroom, Sakura shows up and asks if she isn't into guys, so Nagatoro replies that the dudes are not her type. She then attacks Sakura for setting up the date, while Naoto watches and wonders what kind of guys Nagatoro likes. On the way home, it hits him that he is the only dude that Nagatoro toys with, but he snaps out of it when Nagatoro asks to join him on a stroll. As she roasts him as usual, he stops to ask her if he's the only dude in her life, but calls it off because he's too shy. The following week, Naoto is drawing a piece in the art room when Nagatoro creeps out of nowhere and asks to model for him. Naoto declines the offer, saying he prefers drawing objects, so Nagatoro then unveils herself for Naoto to see, but the dude is a bit disappointed because she's wearing a swimsuit underneath, so Nagatoro calls him a closet-cultured addict. After school, it rains heavily as Naoto and Nagatoro are heading home, so they are forced to hide under a shed. Getting there, Nagatoro tells Naoto not to look at her because her uniform is soaked. As a result, Naoto starts getting wild thoughts as he pictures seeing Nagatoro's wet clothes, but he snaps out of it when Nagatoro accuses him of fantasizing about her. He becomes fed up because Nagatoro has spent the last 7 days teasing him, so he decides to steal a peek, thinking Nagatoro is still wearing her swimsuit underneath. However, when he turns around, he realizes she's wearing her usual silky garment and turns the other way, feeling ashamed. Although he says he didn't mean to peek, Nagatoro doesn't believe him and starts calling him a cultured addict. Just then, a gust of cold wind blows, and they both decide they'll have to run home. Since Nagatoro's house is the closest, she offers to host Naoto at least until the rain subsides. Naoto is forced to agree, but when he reaches her house, he pictures her parents teasing him like she does on a normal day. He regains his composure after Nagatoro taps him, and he realizes it's been 30 minutes already. When Nagatoro asks what's up with him, he says nothing is wrong and then asks if anyone is home. Nagatoro says her parents are out and then drags him to the laundry room and gives him dry clothes to wear. She then gives him a towel to shower, but as she leaves, he sniffs it and starts getting freaky thoughts, thinking it's the same towel she uses to dry herself. Nagatoro smiles as she watches him from the door, and then reveals that she has another towel she uses, leaving the dude in utter shock. After Naoto is done bathing, he joins Nagatoro for tea in her bedroom and is a bit uncomfortable because it's his first time in a girl's room. Nagatoro notices and asks what couples do when they are behind closed doors, so bro says they study and stuff. Nagatoro smiles and holds his hands, saying they should become intertwined under this weather. Assuming she wants them to smash, Naoto tells her it's too early, but she brings up a video game and teases him for having an unholy mind. As they are about to start playing the video game, Nagatoro brags that she's the best, so Naoto decides to take her seriously and ends up winning the first round flawlessly. Deep down, he feels bad that he went all out against a beginner, but when he realizes all the bad things she's done to him, he decides to make her pay by beating her in this game. Unfortunately, as he's about to finish her off, she blows air into his ear, causing all the culture within him to rise. She wins the game as a result and continues using her sus teasing technique to beat Naoto 5 times in a row. After the rain stops, Naoto is set to leave, so he thanks Nagatoro for hosting him and looks forward to a rematch. Nagatoro agrees and promises to destroy him next time, but Naoto tells her to stop cheating. The following day, during lunch break, the cafeteria is packed with students, and Naoto struggles to find a place to eat. As he leaves to find a quiet spot, Nagatoro calls out to him, insisting he join her and her friends at their table. Although Naoto is scared of the girls, he accepts Nagatoro's offer and figures he needs to eat as fast as possible and dip. After he sits at the table, Nagatoro's friends, Yoshi and Gamo, start smirking at him, asking if he's Nagatoro's boyfriend. Naoto quickly says no, while Nagatoro says they are dating, but they're taking things slow and steady. The other girls giggle when they hear this and then ask Naoto how far he has gone with Nagatoro. While Naoto wonders what they mean by that, Yoshi holds his hand, asking him to date her. Nagatoro sees this and becomes jealous, but plays along so her friends do not notice. When Yoshi tries to touch Naoto again, Nagatoro smacks her hand, saying that Naoto hasn't showered in years and that he's dirty. Although Yoshi buys this excuse, Gamo sees through it and figures Nagatoro is trying to gatekeep Naoto for herself. Yoshi tries touching Naoto again, but when Nagatoro stops her, Gamo questions why Naoto doesn't fight for himself. She then calls him a bug, and it pisses Nagatoro off, so she issues a stern warning to Gamo. On the other hand, Naoto watches the girls and is shocked that Nagatoro is standing up for him, so he decides to grow a pair and stand up for himself. Unfortunately, he yells at Gamo, telling her that he isn't in a relationship with Nagatoro. As he notices the other students watching him, he becomes shy and sits without completing what he wanted to say, then proceeds to eat his meal like everything is normal. Gamo wonders what type of guy he is and starts laughing because he ran out of what to say. After lunch, Nagatoro meets Naoto, who yells at him for not fighting back whenever he's dissed. She tells him to smack anyone who tries roasting him and tells him to watch her to see how it's done. After the first illustration, Naoto gets the hang of it and is happy that he can now defend himself. However, for the next illustration, Nagatoro goes a little overboard with the roasts, and he loses the urge to smack her. When Nagatoro realizes this, she apologizes for roasting him too much, but when she notices Naoto's cheeks turning red, she starts roasting him again to see if he is Chad enough to smack her. Eventually, Naoto gives in, but he ends up smacking her assets, leaving him and Nagatoro completely shocked. Nagatoro congratulates him for his first smack, but calls him a cultured addict for smoking her milkers. The following day, Naoto is washing his hands with soap when Nagatoro shows up from nowhere, asking to wash her hands. While scrubbing her hands, she smiles at Naoto and then grabs his fingers to scrub them, which causes all the blood in Naoto's brain to head south. Naoto tries his best to calm down, but when it becomes too much, he runs away. During break, Naoto sits alone in the art room, eating his food, and he notices when the door opens. He assumes it's Nagatoro and that she's here to disturb his peace again, but he's shocked when he turns around and sees Yoshi and Gamo instead. As the girls sit with him, he continues eating his lunch, while also wishing the group would swallow him up. All of a sudden, Gamo asks him if he's squeezed oversized melons before, but the question makes him choke on his drinks. His reaction gives Gamo the impression that he's a V-card ambassador and that squeezing melons for juice is something new to him. She then starts jiggling her bells to get him interested, and Yoshi follows suit, so he can pick who he wants to massage. Unfortunately, Naoto runs for his life, but the girls catch up to him and force him to squeeze Gamo's watermelons. As it happens, Naoto's brain resets itself, but Gamo brings out a pair of bean buns from her chest, giggling that Naoto massaged the buns. Just then, Nagatoro enters the room and asks what's up with melons, but the murderous look on her face makes the girls run for their lives. Naoto stays back to explain himself to Nagatoro, but is a bit scared when she asks if he touched Gamo's jugs. When he mentions that he only fondled the bean buns, Nagatoro gets relieved and starts laughing at him because he didn't get the real deal. She then offers to let him squeeze her melons for juice, but Naoto claims he's a good boy, not until Nagatoro takes out a premium bean bun and places it in her chest with the regular one, asking him to find out which is real. All he has to do is squeeze the real one, and he'll get to eat it, so he starts guessing which is which. The first one he touches doesn't give him a premium vibe, but he doesn't notice that the other one has fallen out of Nagatoro's chest. As Naoto tries to check out the next bean bun, he notices it's extra squishy and soft, but he doesn't know that Nagatoro is seconds away from making rain fall on the floor. When he opens his eyes and decides which is the real bean bun, he sees the premium bean bun on the floor, and is shocked as he realizes he was touching Nagatoro's twin cannons for real. Although he apologizes, Nagatoro smacks him and decides to give him the other bean bun. A few days pass, and Naoto waits for Nagatoro in the art room and complains that she's late. Yesterday, while Naoto was drawing in the art room, Nagatoro met him and begged him to draw her, so he agreed and scheduled the meeting for today. Presently, Nagatoro drags a long couch into the art room, claiming it'll make her feel comfortable. She notices Naoto staring outside at the baseball team and compliments one of the star players for performing well. Naoto gets a bit jealous because he has never been complimented in his life, but he admits he is a loser with no talents, which explains why he doesn't get compliments. Nagatoro tells him to compliment others if he wants to be complimented, and then decides to make him compliment her so he'll get used to it. At first, Naoto points out multiple things about her he can compliment, like her hair, legs, and face, but he thinks she'll see him as a creep. He summons the courage to compliment her long hair, and it makes Nagatoro excited, so she tells him to keep praising her. After he is done complimenting her, Nagatoro decides to compliment him too, but she struggles with it. Naoto tells her not to force it if she doesn't have anti-compliments to give, so she smirks and says he has a funny face. She also reveals that his eyes twitch if she stares at him long enough, and Naoto proves her right. Although his excuse is that his eyes are itchy, Nagatoro keeps teasing him, so he begs her to stop so he can start drawing her. Nagatoro agrees and tries to model for him, but she begins striking unholy poses to make Naoto feel uncomfortable. Naoto tries his best not to look too much, but when he realizes he can't take it anymore, he yells at Nagatoro to pose normally. After that, Naoto prepares his pencils to draw and starts wondering why Nagatoro always wants him to draw her. As he peeks at her for reference, he notices she's showing too much skin and begs her to cover up. Nagatoro smirks and decides to play along this once, but she becomes sleepy and lies on the couch to rest. Before dozing off, she promises to reward Naoto if he draws her well, but Naoto says he isn't interested because the last time didn't go so well. Nagatoro tells him it's because he wasn't Chad enough to kiss her and that he needs to grow a pair and be a man for once. Her words hit Naoto hard, and when he notices she's fast asleep, he starts drawing her to earn that reward. When he finishes, he gives the picture a 7 out of 10 because he rushed it, but before he knows it, Nagatoro is behind him, complimenting the drawing. Shocked, Naoto protests that he isn't finished yet, but Nagatoro says time is up and tells him to come claim his reward. As she instructs him to close his eyes, he realizes this is his chance to become a man, so he prepares for a kiss. He gets excited when he feels something soft on his lips, but his excitement turns to disappointment when he opens his eyes and finds himself kissing a toy. Nagatoro laughs at him, saying he's still a million years away from kissing her, but she adds that she likes the drawing, because it's her favorite. The following day, Nagatoro arrives at the art studio to disturb Naoto as usual, but she notices that the dude is ignoring her. As she keeps roasting him to get a reaction, Yoshi and Gamo enter the room and push her out. They then ask Naoto to hang out with them, promising to treat him right. So Naoto agrees, leaving Nagatoro utterly shocked. She becomes heartbroken as Naoto walks out with girls 2 times bouncier than she is. All of a sudden, she wakes up in the art studio and realizes it was all a dream. When Naoto asks what's up with her, she claims she's cool, but then starts acting nice to him. The following day, Naoto gets a little tense around Nagatoro because he feels she's going to start roasting him again. Nagatoro roasts him for being a virgin and also predicts that he'll make happy noises if she tickles him. Naoto claims he won't make any funny sounds, so Nagatoro insists they test that to see if he's tough. When Naoto tries to run for his life, Nagatoro catches up to him and tickles him, wondering where all this yogurt is coming from. After that, Naoto decides to turn the tables and tickle Nagatoro, thinking she'll make happy sounds and make it rain on the floor. As he goes for it, Nagatoro turns red, teasing that he isn't Chad enough to touch her, but she backs out at the last minute. Not long after, Naoto is drawing a piece when Nagatoro shows him a video on her phone. The video is about a farmer shaving a sheep's wool, so Nagatoro offers to shave Naoto's hair since it looks bushy. Naoto declines her offer because he doesn't want to go bald, but Nagatoro insists and brings out her clippers to show she means business. Fearing for his looks, Naoto begs her to spare him, but she turns on the buzzing clippers, begging him to give her just the tip. Naoto says he's only used to a comb and scissors, so Nagatoro decides to get those tools to avoid shaving all his hair. As she's about to start, Naoto remarks that she might be a beginner, but she claims he has nothing to worry about because she's helped with her brother's haircut before. Just then, Nagatoro receives a call from Gamo, telling her to come take her math notes in class since she's leaving school already. After the call, Nagatoro leaves to get the notes, but she doesn't know it's a setup from Gamo and Yoshi. While Naoto is waiting for Nagatoro to return, he's shocked when Gamo and Yoshi enter the room and find the clippers. Realizing Nagatoro was just about to cut his hair, the girls decide they might as well give Naoto a bald shave and restrain him to do it. While he struggles, he shakes his head to prevent Gamo from cutting his hair, but that's when Nagatoro starts approaching the room again. When she enters and finds her friends trying to shave Naoto, her aura turns dark, and her friends realize they are cooked. To escape her wrath, the girls distract Nagatoro with the clippers and run for their lives. Later on, Nagatoro gives Naoto a clean shave, and the dude goes from a 2 out of 10 to a solid 6, so he thanks her for it. After school, Nagatoro nearly dies from heat stroke, so she suggests getting shaved ice with Naoto. Naoto agrees, but when they arrive at the store, they find the place packed with customers and a long queue. This annoys Nagatoro because the place isn't usually this jacked, but Naoto realizes it's because the shop was featured on television. Despite the long line, Nagatoro forces Naoto to wait until it's their turn, but Naoto suggests getting ice cream instead. After she shoots him a side-eye, he swallows his words and realizes Nagatoro really wants the shaved ice. About an hour later, Naoto notices the queue hasn't moved at all, but Nagatoro is still persistent. Behind them, Naoto notices 2 dudes smiling because they can see through Nagatoro's wet uniform, so he gets jealous and blocks their view. Another hour passes, and Naoto notices Nagatoro is a few inches away from dying from the heat, so he drags her away and forces her to rest under a shed. He then gets her some water, and after she gulps it down, she regains her strength but still intends to get shaved ice. After thinking things through, she heads out and returns with 2 servings of ice cream, giving one to Naoto for saving her earlier. Naoto thanks her for it and digs in, but that's when Nagatoro tries feeding him her ice cream. With cheeks red like your bank account, Naoto refuses to be fed, and Nagatoro teases him for it. Later, on the way home, Nagatoro points out that summer break is starting tomorrow and that she'll be helping out with the swim club for the whole summer. Deep down, Naoto is excited because he'll finally finish all his new manga series and get a break from Nagatoro's disturbance. Just then, Nagatoro takes his tea and drinks some of it before returning it to him. She then asks to exchange contacts with him, and although Naoto agrees, he tells her that texting him is a waste of time because he isn't the social type, but Nagatoro claims that isn't true. At that moment, Naoto finds her cute but snaps out of it when Nagatoro promises to send him sus stickers if he ever thinks about doing anything freaky. After that, she says goodbye and runs off to her house. As Naoto continues strolling, he tries to drink his tea and freaks out because Nagatoro drank from it earlier, making it an indirect kiss with her. As he gathers the courage to do it, his phone starts ringing, and it's a sus sticker from Nagatoro. Apparently, she didn't leave and has been watching him the whole time, so she starts roasting him again. The following week, Naoto wakes up in an astral plane and meets an angel who tells him that he has been chosen as the savior of this world. She begs him to help defeat the demon lord that's on the loose, but he tells her he doesn't have any powers to fight. However, the angel sniffs him and says he's been blessed as a great wizard because he has a unique skill called the V-Card Ambassador for Life. Naoto feels violated when he hears this, and he isn't given any time to process what's happening before he gets tossed down to earth. While Naoto is falling through midair, he begins screaming because he might die if he doesn't slow down, but he somehow activates his powers and lands safely. However, he realizes a bit too late that he just landed on a sleeping croc, so he begins running for his life to avoid getting eaten. On the way, he uses his magic staff to shoot the croc with lightning, but it does little damage to the monster. Just as he's about to be eaten for lunch, Nagatoro shows up and one-shots the croc into a river. Seeing Nagatoro up close, Naoto is shocked because she looks more like a cosplaying kitty, but that doesn't stop her from dragging him on an adventure to defeat the Demon Lord. As time goes on, they encounter multiple monsters, so they combine their powers to fight them off. That night, they're up against an overpowered dragon with anger issues, so Nagatoro leads the offense while a timid Naoto stands back to watch. Just as the dragon is about to roast Nagatoro, Naoto uses all his wizard juju to block the blast, and he manages to survive it. With that, Nagatoro leads the counterattack and splits herself into three to confuse the dragon. As she dives in to land a blow, the dragon roasts her other duplicates, so Naoto casts an enhancement buff on her, causing her to knock out the dragon with one punch. As the smoke clears, Nagatoro compliments Naoto for stepping up and then kisses him on the cheek for saving her life. As a result, Naoto loses it and starts tweaking, but he regains himself when Nagatoro reminds him that they still have to beat the Demon Lord. All of a sudden, the defeated Demon Lord morphs into a human form, and when Naoto sees that it's Gamo, he realizes she became a monster through dark magic. He then offers an alliance to defeat the Demon Lord, but Gamo points at another teammate who's currently hatching from an egg, which turns out to be Yoshi. Not long after, Naoto and his crew arrive at the Demon Lord's castle for the final fight, but he's shocked to find the place empty. Suddenly, Nagatoro's aura changes, as do the other girls, who morph into plot-thirsty demon queens, leaving Naoto completely shocked. They all promise not to let him out alive, so Naoto tries zapping Nagatoro with lightning to see if he has a fighting chance. To his shock, Nagatoro takes no damage, so he starts sulking, realizing the three thirsty demons will milk him dry by morning. As he gets chained like a pet dog, he starts yelling for his life, only to wake up in a restaurant and realize it was all a nightmare. He finds everyone staring at him, but when he sees Nagatoro and her friends, he packs his bags and bolts. Nagatoro finds his behavior suspicious and decides to check the book he forgot. As she looks through it, she realizes he's working on another manga and that she's a character in the form of a cat. She finds this interesting and starts running after Naoto to ask why he drew her as a cat, but when Naoto sees her, he starts running, claiming he doesn't know anything about the manga. When he keeps denying it, Nagatoro decides to keep the manga, and he begs her not to. That night, Naoto watches a summer show and figures he'd rather stay home and enjoy the air conditioning. Out of the blue, Nagatoro rings him and roasts him for living a boring life during summer vacation. She then offers to take him to the beach to have fun, which shocks Naoto because going out isn't his thing. The following day, Naoto dresses up and joins Nagatoro and her friends so they can all go to the beach. On the way there, Yoshi and Gamo throw shade at Naoto, saying he doesn't fit in at a beach outing like this, and even Nagatoro joins them to roast him. At the beach, Gamo unveils herself to show off her jiggly side, and Yoshi follows suit, leaving Naoto shocked. When Nagatoro notices, she unveils herself so Naoto doesn't think she's flat, but Naoto ends up running away to get drinks because the culture is too much for him. When he returns, he suggests that he join them to swim, but then he refuses and pulls out his sketchbook to draw instead. After the girls roast him for being a sad loner, they wander off into the ocean to swim and start competing over who's the faster fish. At first, Nagatoro wins, but she becomes a little sad when she sees Naoto sitting all by himself. Naoto, however, feels he isn't good enough to hang out in places like this because it's where the popular guys chill out. While he curses himself for joining this beach outing, Nagatoro shows up to check on him and then asks if he knows how to swim. Naoto says he can swim, but he hates it because of sunburns, so Nagatoro decides to rub sunscreen all over his body. She begins unplotting him to start the process, but it creeps him out because massaging someone's back is what lovers do. This comment pisses Nagatoro off a little, so she decides to torture him. As she starts, the other girls join in and use their feet to march on his back, causing the unfortunate dude to scream for help. When they're done soaking him in sunscreen, he's dragged into the ocean for a swim, and they're surprised to see that he can float. As time goes on, he plays with them, then shares dinner with them, and is excited that he joined the girls for the outing. When he gets home, he stays on a call with Nagatoro and admits that the beach outing was fun and that he'd like to go again, but he says nothing about the picture he drew of Nagatoro at the beach. The following week, Naoto is out on the street when he notices that it's already the summer festival, and he can picture Nagatoro asking him to join her. However, when he gets home, he waits for an hour, expecting a text or call from Nagatoro, but gets nothing. Deep down, he wonders if it's okay for him to ask Nagatoro to join him at the festival, but he deads the thought because he feels Nagatoro would roast him. Not long after, he heads out to the festival, claiming he only left his house because he was bored. Just as he's about to wander off to a store, Gammo and Yoshi spot him, so he starts running for his life. When he gets caught, Gammo remarks that he isn't the type to show up at festivals like this, but then realizes he came out to see Nagatoro. Although Naoto says this isn't true, he becomes sad when Gammo tells him that Nagatoro is held up at school with swim practice. Since he thinks Nagatoro won't show up at the festival, he opts to leave, but the girls refuse and put a collar on him like a good doggy. At school, Nagatoro is wrapping up swim practice when her mate asks what she's going to do that evening. Immediately, Nagatoro starts thinking about Naoto, but that's when she receives a text from Gammo. Turns out it's a picture of Naoto being treated like a dog, and it makes Nagatoro lose it. When Naoto learns that Nagatoro got the text, he's scared for a moment, but he claims she won't show up because she's busy. All of a sudden, Nagatoro dashes down to the festival, claiming she only came because she finished practice and was bored, but Gammo and Yoshi aren't buying it. Nagatoro then tries to grab Naoto's collar, but Gammo refuses and only agrees to surrender Naoto if Nagatoro beats her in a shooting contest. Nagatoro accepts the challenge, and as the match begins, Gammo fails to score her first shot. When it's Naoto's turn to play, Nagatoro says she didn't think festivals like these were his kind of thing, but Naoto claims he only came out to get some fresh air. When he misses his target, Nagatoro realizes he might have come out to see her and then proceeds to score her first shot. She then tells Naoto to be a man and ask her out if he wants them to hang out together, which makes Naoto feel shy. As time goes on, he joins the girls to play multiple games and win prizes. In the end, Nagatoro wins the competition and claims full rights to make Naoto her pet, so her friends decide to leave. In their absence, Naoto starts feeling shy again because he's now alone with Nagatoro, but he agrees to join her to look around. They stop by a store to get a snack, and while they share it, Nagatoro teases that they're on a date, but Naoto turns red and says dates are for a proper couple. Seeing his shy face, Nagatoro head pats him, joking that she would never go on a date with a guy like him. Naoto takes it like it's no big deal, but he's flustered when Nagatoro asks to hold hands with him for a stroll. Just as he's about to do it, fireworks light up the sky, so Nagatoro starts pushing him toward a good spot where they can watch the display together. When they get there, they find a long queue, so Naoto recalls seeing the fireworks as a youngling and decides to show Nagatoro a shortcut to a good viewing spot. As he gathers the courage to hold her hand, her cheeks turn red, and she starts teasing him for leading her to a place that's lonely and quiet. She hints that Naoto wants to get freaky, but she's stunned when she gets a clear view of the fireworks. After that, she continues teasing him, saying he dragged her to a lonely, dark place to get cultured. She starts calling him a cultured starved freak, but Naoto takes it and realizes she's overreacting because she's shy. He then asks why she keeps calling him a plot-starved freak, and she starts stuttering. When she answers, Naoto isn't satisfied because it's too generic, so he asks her to be more specific about why she thinks he's too cultured. Just like that, Nagatoro goes from her usual oppressor mode to a shy girl who's new to the culture, but when she works up the courage to say that he wants to massage her fruits and kiss her, she regains her confidence and starts teasing him again. Naoto claims he didn't come here to do anything freaky with her, and Nagatoro believes him because he isn't ballsy enough to smash or steal a kiss. Naoto throws the same accusation back at her, so she tries kissing him to prove she's better than him. However, another fireworks display exposes two pairs of couples having a good time in the woods, startling both Naoto and Nagatoro. Not wanting to contract the Alabama 19 virus, they both run away to cool off somewhere else in the woods. After the festival, they head home, and Nagatoro says she wishes she had worn a yukata for the festival. Hearing this makes Naoto picture her in the outfit, and he recalls that Nagatoro told him to ask her out whenever he felt like taking her on a date. With that, he grows a pair and asks her to join him for next year's festival, and she agrees, but jokingly insists they wear matching yukatas to look like a couple. The next week marks the end of summer vacation, and Naoto is already on his way back from school. When he hears Nagatoro's voice coming from a park, he hides behind a tree to listen in on her conversation with her friends. While watching, he notices Sakura is there too, and feels hesitant to approach Nagatoro because he can't stand being around that many girls. He realizes that although he spends a lot of time with Nagatoro, they live in different worlds, and he's like a mole rat in the middle of thirsty jaguars. A bit later, two guys join the group at the park, and they turn out to be the same guys Nagatoro rejected weeks ago. They still try asking Nagatoro out, and one of them even gets touchy with her, which makes Naoto jealous. As a result, he steps in and asks Nagatoro to come with him, and she agrees, leaving the guys shocked. As Nagatoro leaves, Yoshi and the other girls join them and start glazing Naoto for acting like a man. After that, Sakura recognizes Naoto from the library and starts teasing him for drawing unplotted manga. The other girls join in too, and Naoto begins regretting why he didn't mind his own business earlier. The following day, Nagatoro roasts Naoto for having thin arms, saying he's one weight loss journey away from dying. Seeing Naoto's long face, Nagatoro tells him not to feel bad because she wants him to do some strength training and grow muscles. Naoto says he isn't interested in working out because he can't put up with the pain that comes right after, but he adds that he's down for any exercise that doesn't require him moving. Unfortunately, Nagatoro has the perfect exercise for him, so she tells him to get on all fours. As Naoto assumes the position, Nagatoro sits on his back, forcing him to carry her weight. Although she weighs only 60 pounds, Naoto starts shaking about 2 minutes in, and begs her to get off since he's already at his limit. However, Nagatoro makes things worse by riding him like a horse, but that's when a couple of other students see them, leaving Nagatoro in utter shock. A few days later, Naoto shows up at school looking sleepy because he spent the whole night playing a new video game. Nagatoro notices and asks if he's been studying since they have a test in 4 days, but Naoto's reaction makes her realize the dude has been slipping lately. She tells him he might repeat if he keeps gaming non-stop, which startles Naoto because repeating is his biggest nightmare. On second thought, he says repeating isn't that bad because he'll get an extra year in the art club. When Nagatoro tells him they'll be in the same class if he repeats, he realizes she'll be bothering him non-stop until he kicks the bucket, but he also thinks it'd be fun having Nagatoro around all the time. Although Nagatoro is stunned and happy to hear this, she claims she doesn't want to be in the same class as him, but Naoto can already tell she's lying. Later on, Naoto takes her advice and chills at the library to read, but he can't concentrate because Nagatoro and her lunatic friends are taunting him. They mock him for being desperate to study, saying they'll become his seniors if he repeats twice in a row. Naoto says over his dead body, but then starts thinking about what life would be like if that happened. In his mind, the girls boss him around and send him on weird errands that involve massaging them and getting them food. The thought drains him, and the look on his face makes the girls start laughing. Just as he locks in to resume studying, Sakura enters the room and shows the other girls their test scores, saying they're the ones bound to repeat. Seeing this makes Naoto feel better, so he tells Nagatoro and her friends to start studying themselves. Unfortunately, Gamo and Yoshi walk up to him begging him to help them study, which makes Nagatoro panic because it won't end well. A few days later, Naoto's studying pays off as he gets an A+ on all his tests, but Nagatoro is jealous because she failed. The following day, Nagatoro shows up at school and walks to the art studio to taunt Naoto as usual. When she reaches the door, Nagatoro's face turns red as she realizes Naoto might be getting some action, so she barges in to chop off his sausage. Although she finds her friends trying to remove a splinter from Naoto's finger, her aura becomes dark, but she controls her anger and decides to help remove the splinter. After school, Nagatoro joins Naoto on his way home, and she's jealous because he is the kind of guy who helps any girl in need. Earlier on, Sakura was carrying a heavy chair, so he decided to help her with it, and that was how he got the splinter. As he narrates this in the present, Nagatoro tells him to carry her bag, and he ends up asking why. Since he is refusing, she suggests a game of rock, paper, scissors, saying that the loser will carry the winner's bag. Naoto isn't ready as she starts the game, but he wins the first round, so Nagatoro is forced to carry his bag. As she does it, she becomes pissed and starts roasting Naoto for letting a girl carry his bag, so he reminds her that she brought it upon herself. A bit later, they are due for another round of the game, but Naoto is terrified that something bad will happen to him if he wins again. As a result, he loses on purpose, so Nagatoro starts rejoicing and forces him to carry her bag. About half an hour later, they are due for another round of the game, so Naoto looks forward to winning this one. However, he loses, but rather than let him carry her bag, Nagatoro jumps on his back instead, saying he should take her home. Naoto is flustered because someone from school might see them, but Nagatoro points out that there aren't many people on the street. While Naoto carries her, she asks if he's carried another girl on his back before, and he claims he has, but Nagatoro taunts him, thinking he is lying. A little later, it becomes harder for Naoto to move because Nagatoro is heavy, but when he notices that she's slacking already, he tries adjusting her so he can handle her weight. Unfortunately, he ends up grabbing her twin cakes, so Nagatoro gets off his back and runs away without saying a word. Deep down, Naoto thinks she acted like that because she's pissed, but he doesn't know that the chick ran because she's in heat. At night, Naoto studies and pays attention to his phone, expecting Nagatoro's text. When Nagatoro messages him, she calls him an addict, thinking he's gooning to 3D stepmoms, but Naoto replies that he's studying. Nagatoro then tells him to guess what she is doing, but when he fails, she calls him and says she's in the shower. Hearing this startles Naoto because he's a degenerate like you watching this video, but he claims he wasn't having unholy thoughts. As he struggles to keep all the culture within him in check, Nagatoro keeps taunting him and doesn't notice when she switches to a video call. Once Naoto sees her in full glory, he realizes this is the American dream, and his sausage starts to cook. While holding it down, he tells Nagatoro that she's on video call, and the chick yells in shock. To make her feel better, Naoto claims he didn't see anything and apologizes for the mess up, but Nagatoro tells him not to worry about it. The following day, Naoto is drawing in the art studio when Nagatoro starts shadowboxing. Out of curiosity, Naoto asks what's up, so Nagatoro says she's been obsessed with boxing ever since she watched a boxing show Naoto showed her recently. She then smirks at Naoto, telling him to be her sparring partner, but the dude is scared because he doesn't want to be her punching bag. As they start sparring, Naoto trips and falls on Nagatoro, and for a split second, he feels her plots and wishes this moment would last for eternity. However, he backs away expecting Nagatoro to beat him for touching her, but she doesn't. Later on, Nagatoro tells her friends what happened with Naoto, and they all offer to spar against Naoto for some unholy reasons. Realizing they are up to no good, Nagatoro refuses to let them spar against Naoto, but Gamma refuses. As a result, Nagatoro runs to the art studio and warns Naoto to run for his life, but it's already too late because Gamma and the other girls are there already. The next morning, Naoto heads to school, wishing to have a good time drawing at the art studio, but he's disappointed when he finds Nagatoro and the girls hanging out in the studio. When he asks why the girls have chosen to hang out there, Gamma replies that her usual spot at the dining hall has been taken over by 4 dudes who won't shut up. Naoto is surprised to hear this because he didn't think Gamma was the type to back out without a fight, but Nagatoro smirks, saying they have a plan already. Turns out, they sent Sakura to meet the noisy dudes and talk to them. At the dining hall, Sakura pulls up looking hotter than usual and jiggles her bells to get the boys' attention. She starts teasing them individually, hinting that she might date them, and it makes the boys grow jealous of each other. Apparently, Nagatoro and her girl's grand plan is to make the noisy boys group implode, and they're sure that things will work out their way. As Naoto hears this, he realizes he is cooked if he ever gets on the girl's bad side. Gamma, however, remarks that Naoto isn't the kind of guy who gets thirsty all the time, but Nagatoro says otherwise. She proves this by promising Naoto a kiss, but when the dude turns red, Gamma says he's only acting like a virgin. She believes Naoto has no sausage, which means no hunger, while Nagatoro says otherwise. As a result, Nagatoro proposes a bet, saying that Naoto must have an unplotted collection in this studio, and if she finds it, she wins. After Gamma accepts the bet, Nagatoro starts scanning the room for an unplotted collection, but Naoto tells her she won't find any. Nagatoro thinks he's joking, while Gamma and Yoshi believe he is clean. Before now, Naoto used to have an unplotted collection, but he hid it in the next room, and Nagatoro won't be allowed in there. Since Nagatoro is running out of time, Naoto retrieves the manga from the next room and hides it on a shelf. He then signals to Nagatoro to take the hint, and as she finds it, Gamma and Yoshi leave the room in disappointment. The next day, Nagatoro arrives at the studio, and Naoto notices that her new earring is making her cute. As he compliments her for it, she thanks him and says she recently got a piercing. She then shows off the piercing pin and walks closer to Naoto to pierce his ears. Naoto, however, protests against this because he thinks he'll look weird with piercings, but Nagatoro thinks otherwise and tells him they would look cool with matching earrings. Naoto turns red at the thought of that, but that's when Nagatoro holds him and tries to pierce his ear. He closes his eyes as he feels the pain and starts lamenting that he's been defiled, but it turns out Nagatoro only pinched him. She starts laughing at him, and his reaction makes her realize that he's actually cool with piercings, though he claims he isn't. Just then, Sakura enters the room and meets Naoto, begging him for his help. After school, Sakura reveals that someone is stalking her, and it's one of the guys from the noisy group she was messing with. When Nagatoro and the other girls see the stalker, they're shocked, but Naoto doesn't feel concerned because he believes Sakura brought it upon herself for messing with the dude's emotions. Realizing this is true, Sakura becomes sad, but she regains herself and begs Naoto to be her fake boyfriend, leaving Nagatoro shocked. Sakura thinks the fake boyfriend thing will make her stalker give up on her, and every girl except Nagatoro agrees to this. Nagatoro says this plan is super harmful, claiming that Naoto might end up becoming Sakura's stalker too, but Sakura doesn't believe this. She still asks Naoto to be her fake boyfriend, and the dude accepts, but it makes Nagatoro lose it. On Saturday, Naoto is in the city waiting for Sakura to show up so they can go on a fake date. Once Sakura arrives, she leaves with Naoto, while Gamo and the others keep close tabs on them. On the way, Sakura tells Naoto not to be nervous because she'll be taking the lead on their date. This makes Naoto fantasize about getting freaky with her, which makes him feel awkward. Gamo notices and starts videoing him, but when she sees that Nagatoro is in a mood, she begins remarking that Naoto might go on an actual date with Sakura and get to smash. Nagatoro gets fed up with her and lashes out, but she claims she isn't pissed. A bit later, Naoto leads the way to an open park, expecting to see the stalker, and that's when Nagatoro and the girls show up with the stalker dude from the woods. The dude kneels and starts begging that he won't stalk Sakura anymore, but he runs off so he doesn't get caught on camera. With that, the fake date ends, and Naoto joins Nagatoro on a stroll home. Nagatoro begins teasing him that he didn't even score a kiss from his first date, but Naoto tells her he isn't bothered about that because it was a fake date. However, Nagatoro keeps taunting him, saying he was having unholy thoughts of touching Sakura's cakes and smashing her, but Naoto claims he never thought of that because he isn't ready for a relationship. One day, on the way back from school, Nagatoro asks Naoto if he'd like some treats, hinting at giving steamy snaps. Immediately, Naoto turns red because he thinks Nagatoro wants to give him access to her private snaps, but he's shocked when Nagatoro gives him hot meat buns instead. His facial reaction gives it away that he was having unholy thoughts, though he denies it and refuses to let Nagatoro feed him. The following day, while Naoto runs a marathon race, he barely keeps up and almost passes out from exhaustion. Nagatoro and her friends watch in disappointment, but Nagatoro is visibly pissed that he is taking last place. After school, Nagatoro meets Naoto and roasts him for running as fast as a snail. She jokingly tells him she's ashamed to have him as a senior, so Naoto replies that running isn't his thing. Although Nagatoro admits this, she says he can improve if he starts practicing, but Naoto refuses because he thinks he isn't good at anything besides drawing. Realizing bro is too lazy to train, Nagatoro yells at him to shut up, adding that they'll be having secret training sessions from tomorrow. The following morning, Naoto waits for Nagatoro at a field, sulking because his weekend will be lost to training. When Nagatoro arrives, his brain times out because her sportswear is tight and it's giving easy access. About 20 minutes into a marathon, Naoto is already gassed out and wishing to have some time to rest. But the moment he gets a good view of Nagatoro's cakes, he starts sprinting like his life depends on it. The short boost fades when Nagatoro runs ahead of him, so he stops running to catch his breath. Nagatoro tells him to continue because he's only halfway to the finish line, but when he refuses, she begins rage-baiting him by calling him a maggot. Her remarks get to him, so he starts running again to prove that he is faster than a maggot. After he completes 4 miles, he lies down to catch his breath, but Nagatoro spares him no time to rest as she forces him to do some stretching exercises. As Nagatoro shows him what to do, Naoto is flustered because the angles and positions she's taking are too much for him. When he tries stretching, Nagatoro notices that he's stiff and tries to help him out, but it only worsens his unholy hunger. However, they are forced to end the training when Sakura catches them in a weird position. The following week, Naoto sits alone in the art studio, wondering who he can get to model for him. All of a sudden, Nagatoro barges in and asks what's on his mind, so she learns that he is looking to draw a piece for the upcoming cultural festival. Since Naoto hasn't gotten anyone, Nagatoro roasts him for being a sad loner, but then offers to model for him. To her shock, Naoto refuses, so when she asks why, he says he wants to draw a dude because he can hardly stand drawing her without having freaky thoughts. Rather than take the hint, Nagatoro pulls out a cat drawing of herself that Naoto made and teases him for being into hot girl cats. Seeing that he's been had, Naoto agrees to draw Nagatoro, but only on the condition that she finds the exact costume in her cat picture. Nagatoro is shocked because getting the costume will be hard, and it makes Naoto excited because he'll now be free of her. The following day, Naoto feels bad for sending Nagatoro off on an impossible mission, but to his shock, Nagatoro barges in wearing the correct costume. When she asks what he thinks of it, Naoto starts stuttering because he's too shy to say she's cute, but when he eventually does, she starts calling him a creep. Later on, Nagatoro poses for Naoto to draw, and she tells him to make her look hot in the picture. When Naoto insists that he'll draw her normally, Nagatoro reminds him that the cultural festival is coming up soon, and she'll be running a food stall. Gamo says her class is doing a haunted house for the festival, while Sakura says she'll be helping the gaming club. Turns out, it's the same club from the guys she was teasing the other day, and it makes Nagatoro think the club members are taking turns with her. Out of curiosity, Nagatoro asks Naoto what he is doing for the art club, and the dude recalls what happened the previous year. Back then, he worked under Suki, the art club's president, and she pulled a lot of attention with her art exhibit. One time, Suki told Naoto that she wouldn't be showing up at the club for a while, and she left the club in his hands for the time being. Presently, Naoto says he'll do an art exhibit for the cultural festival, but Nagatoro and her friends say it'll be boring. They then promise to help him out, with Nagatoro suggesting they do a cute cat-girl cafe to attract thirsty boys. Naoto thinks this is too much, while Sakura suggests a drag cafe where Naoto will be dressed in a maid outfit. All the girls except Nagatoro are in for this, and it makes Naoto wonder what rock they crawled out of. Just then, he hears Suki's footsteps approaching and begs the girls to hide in the other room for a while. As they do, Suki enters the room, so Naoto starts glitching and asking her what she's doing there. When Suki tells him she's within her full rights to show up at the studio anytime she wants, Sakura, in the other room, starts teasing Nagatoro that Suki might be Naoto's ex-girlfriend. Sakura says Naoto might be into older women, but Nagatoro tells her to zip it. Back in the main room, Suki jiggles her bells while telling Naoto that she'll be doing something for the cultural festival, and he'll decide on what they'll do. Naoto says an exhibit will be fine, but Suki ignores him and notices the food wraps littered around the room. She then points out that she's heard rumors about him harboring unhinged girls in the art studio, leaving Naoto in shock. She then yells that the art club room isn't a playground, and the girls listening feel bad for Naoto because the littered room is their doing. Afterward, Suki reveals that the student council has issued her a warning concerning the club, and she'll shut it down if Naoto doesn't take the club seriously. Naoto is shocked as he hears this, but becomes speechless as Suki walks off to shut down the club. Just as she is about to leave, Nagatoro reveals herself and calls her selfish for being so harsh on Naoto. When Suki says that Naoto hasn't been taking the club seriously, Nagatoro reveals that Naoto has spent the last year consistently drawing to keep the club alive. Hearing this, Suki holds off shutting the club down, but challenges Naoto to an exhibition contest at the cultural festival, saying that if he wins, she won't shut the club down. Naoto is shocked because he doesn't think he can take Suki on his own, but Nagatoro tells him not to worry about it because she'll help him. The next day, Nagatoro starts mimicking Suki and roasting her for sounding like a scripted robot, but Naoto isn't buying it. He tells Nagatoro not to talk down on Suki, and it makes the other girls assume that he's dated Suki before. When Nagatoro asks if he thinks he can beat Suki, the dude confidently says no, so Nagatoro tells him to stop being negative. Her friends then offer to do a kitty cat cosplay art cafe, but Naoto says that it won't be enough to face Suki. He reveals that Suki came top 10 in the previous cultural festival and that she's been winning all kinds of competitions ever since. Gamo finds it weird that Suki is that good, so she asks what makes Suki's art pieces special. For some reason, Naoto stutters as he says that Suki's art pieces are a little unhinged. He pulls out a piece Suki displayed last year, and all the girls are shocked because it's Suki's unplotted painting. Nagatoro starts cussing Naoto out for gooning to it, but the dude says he would never, because he only sees Suki's piece as an art. He begins glazing Suki's art piece, calling her the goat of bouncy assets, and Nagatoro almost strangles him. Afterward, Gamo advises him to draw something as amazing as Suki's piece, so he'll stand a chance of winning, and Nagatoro offers to model for him. Naoto refuses because he doesn't think he stands a chance, and Gamo agrees, saying that Nagatoro isn't plotted enough to be his model. Seeing that Nagatoro is pissed, Gamo tries to sweet-talk her, saying that guys also like flat girls. However, as Gamo looks at Suki's painting again, she realizes Suki is blessed in the right places, and there's no way Nagatoro is beating that. Naoto gets fed up with the comments and yells that Nagatoro is charming in her own way and doesn't need to be compared to Suki. This makes Nagatoro turn red, and it boosts her confidence back up so much that she starts demanding an apology from her friends who called her flat. After that, Nagatoro and her friends start coming up with ideas to help Naoto, but the dude isn't feeling them. Deep down, he is worried that he has no way to defeat Suki, and that the club might get shut down because of him. On the way home, Nagatoro sees his basic drawing of her and tells him it's not enough to compete against Suki. When he replies that he likes it regardless, she promises to make sure he wins. So the following day, she poses in her swimsuit for him to draw, but she notices he isn't making any progress at all. She then switches to a cat outfit to look cute, but realizes it isn't good enough. She then tries another costume, trying to match Suki's vibe, but that's when her friends show up. Gamo remarks that this outfit will sell, and then starts massaging Nagatoro's milkers to prove her point. But Naoto still isn't feeling this. He wants Nagatoro to act as her usual self, but it pisses Gamo off because Nagatoro has been changing outfits non-stop. Nagatoro also gets ticked off and asks what he plans to do now, so he says he wants to draw on his own. He thinks that if he loses horribly against Suki, Nagatoro will be affected too, but even when Nagatoro says she doesn't mind that, he insists on being left alone. As a result, Nagatoro gets pissed and storms off, yelling at Naoto to make Suki his model. Her friends follow behind her, calling him a sad loser, but he isn't moved. The following day, when he shows up at the art studio, he realizes Suki has sectioned the place into two, so he starts painting a piece to prepare for the festival. When he's done, Suki shows up and tells him the painting looks dull, but her natural body appearance startles him. Suki tells him the painting itself is good, but the model he's using isn't passing the right message. She tells him his art must reek of love, but that's when Nagatoro creeps into the studio to check on him. She completely misreads the room, thinking Suki is modeling for Naoto, so she runs off. Realizing they've got chemistry, Suki tells Naoto to run after Nagatoro, insisting that he'd be foolish to lose her. Without thinking twice, Naoto does as he is told, but when he catches up to Nagatoro, he becomes speechless. Some girls find them together and wonder if Naoto is hitting on Nagatoro, but Nagatoro calls Naoto a stalker and runs away. Regardless, Naoto runs after her, recalling all the good times they've spent together, and realizes she's one of the best things that has happened to him recently. He chases her outside up to the swimming pool area and tries begging her to model for him. Nagatoro tells him to draw Suki instead and starts yelling at him when he keeps begging her to model for him. Just then, she slips and almost falls into the pool, but Naoto grabs her at the last second, telling her that he wants to draw her the way she is. He says he finds her usual self attractive, and it makes Nagatoro feel shy, so she calls him a creep and drags him into the pool. After they leave the pool, Nagatoro catches Naoto staring at her wet plots and starts roasting him all over again. On the way home, Naoto works on a sketch of Nagatoro and remarks that it's coming out well. Curious, Nagatoro asks him what's so special about her usual self, so he tells her she's cute, leaving her completely shocked. Since it's the first time he's complimented her like this, she forces him to repeat himself and keeps pestering him until they part ways. In the art club room, Nagatoro's friends are looking at Naoto's finished paintings, saying that they turned out all right. Gamo teases him that the painting is from a boyfriend's perspective, so he starts panicking, saying that he only did it for the art. Nagatoro then starts slapping his head, commending him for doing a good job, even though he's giving virgin stalker vibes. Gamo then reminds them that they still have to take care of Suki's clickbait painting. After Nagatoro joins the girls, the sight of Suki's painting knocks her out cold, so they have to drag her back like a wounded soldier. When Nagatoro comes to, she explains that she just experienced Melon violence, so Gamo explains that Suki's painting has finally reached OnlyFans level. Gamo recommends that Nagatoro should also get freaky, but Sakura preaches that they should go after Suki's weaknesses instead. When Naoto realizes that things are getting out of hand, he announces that it should be a problem for only he and Nagatoro to handle, but the girls don't back down. Later, Naoto and Suki are designing the school gates poster, and after they finish, she asks him how his painting is coming along. When he tells her that it's turning out well, she warns him to bring his A game because she won't hold back. Naoto then notices a Nagatoro-inspired bag accessory on Suki and asks her about it, so she tells him that it's been going around in class. During a festival interview, Suki explains the topic for the art and how she chose to do it, while Naoto is starstruck at how good she is on the mic. When the interviewer turns to Naoto, he starts squeaking like he lost his voice, but they're interrupted. They all turn to Nagatoro, wearing the cat costume alongside two other cat mascots, but Nagatoro looks like it's the last place she wants to be. Gamo then signals for them to dance, so Nagatoro starts embarrassing herself with a Teletubbies promo dance and introduces her squad as the Tora Cats. The interviewer then announces through the public address system that the recently popular Tora Cats will entertain and mess with you, so students start gathering around. When the crowd is large enough, Nagatoro drags some guys to see Naoto's painting, and when she asks the guys what they think about the art, they say that it looks good, which makes Naoto happy. When the guys then say that they would even like to date the girl in the picture, Gamo signals for Nagatoro to tease them, but Nagatoro knows the only one she wants to tease is her senpai. After the girls pressure Nagatoro a bit, she delivers her lines and teases the guys, so that more people can come to see Naoto's painting. At Suki's exhibit, guys keep trooping in for the free OnlyFans access, and Naoto notes that although Suki is getting more visitors, his exhibit is still hanging on because of Nagatoro. As Naoto watches Nagatoro teasing other guys, he starts getting jealous. Afterward, some underclass girls approach him to praise his painting, and when Nagatoro sees this, she also gets jealous. Gamo then announces that it's time for Nagatoro and Naoto to take a break, but Nagatoro worries that the exhibit wouldn't hold up, so Gamo assures them that the rest of the Toro cats would handle the job. Sakura then pulls up with some snacks, saying that taking a break is important, but this confuses Gamo because Sakura was supposed to be in the cat mascot costume. When they open the costume, they see one of the guys from the game club, so Gamo and Yoshi start trashing the guy. Naoto then asks Nagatoro to grab lunch with him, and they start blushing like younglings. On their way to the cafeteria, Nagatoro teases him about the girls who were talking to him because of the painting, telling him not to let it get to his head. Naoto then appreciates Nagatoro for making everything possible, which catches her off guard. After their break is over, they head back to the exhibit for the second half, but they see a commotion where the student council is trying to confiscate Suki's paintings. At the student guidance office, Suki tries to explain that she got permission for her exhibit, but the student council says that she breached school moral codes. Naoto and the girls are listening to the argument, and Sakura remarks that it means they have won the competition by default. Naoto then barges into the room, asking why her paintings were allowed last year but not this year, and the council responds that they received reports that Suki is purposefully thirst-trapping the male students. Suki then tells Naoto not to bother because the reports just mean that her art was nothing but a thirst trap, but Naoto reveals that her painting inspired him to realize that he wants to draw Nagatoro Toro. When the council isn't convinced, Nagatoro says that she likes Suki's art from her perspective as a woman. Yoshi then shows them some pictures of Suki's exhibit, revealing that while most guys went there for gooning purposes, some people were actually interested in the painting. Outside the guidance office, Naoto and the girls wait for the council to deliberate on Suki's painting. Just then, Suki comes out of the office and announces that she was allowed to continue the exhibit, on the condition that she files a survey report. Nagatoro keeps her game face on and tells Suki that since she was disqualified, it means they have won the competition, so Suki concedes and tears up her club termination letter. As Suki is about to leave, the girls stop her, reminding her that she has to pay a penalty for losing the competition. Later on, Naoto is cleaning up the club room when Suki strolls in wearing a freaky bunny girl outfit, and Naoto almost loses his mind. Suki explains that her penalty was to wear the costume to sell Toro Cat merch for the girls. Suki then starts proclaiming about how her penalty is opening new fetishes for her, so Naoto yells at her to take off the costume, but she starts to unveil in front of him. As the girls are counting the cash from the merch sales, Nagatoro leaves, but she catches Suki trying to Melon assault him, so she rushes to protect her senpai. Suki then goes through Naoto's painting and commends him, then she mentions that she senses love in the painting, and Nagatoro starts teasing him. As the festival draws to an end, a live concert is announced over the public address system, so Naoto invites her to the concert, but Nagatoro teases him so that he'll say it again. Some days later, Nagatoro is sleeping while modeling for Naoto, and when he's done, she tells him to close his eyes for a reward. So Naoto closes his eyes expecting her to tease him again, but she kisses him on the cheek and runs off. That's the end of today's video. If you stayed until now, comment down below nuclear plots. Give me 2K likes, and I'll post unplotted, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see another recap like this. Stay focused, brothers.